Hey guys, I am Ibigandscary. I'm bringing you another StarCraft 2 replay. This time on Antiga's Shipyard. We have Dodeka in the bottom left corner playing the blue Zerg, and in your bottom right you have MashedZerg on the red side. Looks like this is laddered, just red versus blue, and that Shipyard's on the ladder. So we can expect some heavy back and forth, especially because they're pretty much as close as you can get spawn-wise. I'm not 100% sure which one is closer, the top left to the bottom left or the bottom right to the bottom left, but I know it doesn't get much closer than this. And then with Zerg, which is already so macro heavy, you end up with this just heavy back and forth, which is just inherent to the matchup. And I'm looking forward to it because it can really make some tense games. Yeah. So right now we see both players macroing up pretty normal right now. No double extractor trick out of anybody. I'm curious to see if anybody knows if the double extractor trick actually results in increased minerals. I know you lose just a little bit when you're doing it, but you also gain just a little bit of mining timing, and if you're going to do that super early aggression, usually it can help, but beyond that super early aggression, I generally don't do it. If you guys have an opinion on it, let me know. You can see MashedZerg sending out his first drone out to scout, and it looks like Dodeka is saving enough minerals to drop his hatchery down at the expo, and there we can see the drone getting in position, and there it goes. On the flip side, MashedZerg is throwing down his first spawning pool before the expansion goes up. So it looks like MashedZerg is going to be in position to do more aggression, and his drone is going in the correct direction to scout out the actual base. You can see the Overlord has already made it there, sees that there is no spawning pool up yet, even though Dodeka has enough money now to drop it. There it just now gets started as the drone sees the super early expansion, knows that Dodeka went hatch first before the spawning pool, so he's going to be in a good position to open up with some aggression, especially with him mining minerals like this. He's going to have all the gas that he's going to need in order to start the speed boost upgrade just right away. So he'll get speedlings right in the enemy's base very, very quickly. You can see 6 Zerglings on the production tab for MashedZerg along with that speed, and unfortunately Dodeka doesn't have either of his buildings finished yet, so he can't even start building a spine crawler down on the lower ground. With the size of the ramps, that spine crawler really doesn't do much to prevent aggression, not as much as 2 queens, which can be used to hold up this entire ramp and protect the delicate drone line up at the top. You can see MashedZerg's trying some shenanigans. He's throwing down a spine crawler, which gets surrounded quickly by the drones, forced to pull back. He loses just a little bit of minerals on that. We can see just 25 minerals lost, but he still has that drone in the main base, so we'll look to see any more shenanigans. There goes another spine crawler, this time well within range of the spine pool, and at the exact same time these 6 Zerglings rush in and get a nice little engagement on the 2 Zerglings that Dodeka had. Unfortunately, all the drones get pulled from the mineral line, really cutting down on Dodeka's mineral production rate. But they're going to be able to take down all of these Zerglings and then turn eventually to take down the spine crawler. There they go, get a nice surround on it with the queen throwing down from the distance. It looks like MashedZerg manages to click on one of the mineral patches and get his drone away, but we can see MashedZerg does not have his expansion up yet, so his income is going to be significantly less than Dodeka's once he can manage to get all the mineral lines saturated like that. MashedZerg sending in just a handful more Zerglings into the base, but with Dodeka having his queens in the area, even though his Zerglings aren't speedlings, he's going to be able to hold off this aggression, and those Zerglings are forced to withdraw. Back at the main base, we can still see MashedZerg is mining off of his gas geysers, both of them, but Dodeka's just now started to get his. He needs that gas to get that Zergling speed up so that he can stay on the same tier of tech as MashedZerg. MashedZerg has 350 minerals saved up, so it's going to be interesting to see if he wants to go ahead and try for that expansion, or more likely saving it so that whenever this Baneling nest finishes, he's going to have enough minerals to morph all of those Zerglings into Banelings and just absolutely devastate the mineral line or even this large cluster of Zerglings. A single spine crawler going up for Dodeka to get the defenses up. He's been really put on the back foot because of MashedZerg's hyper aggression, but as time progresses we can see the mineral gap, 600 to 400 right now, is just going to get larger and larger. 21 to 12 harvesters, MashedZerg has really got to do some significant economic damage with these banelings that are just now starting to get morphed in. At the same time, MashedZerg decides to grab his hatchery, which is definitely something he needs to do, unless if this attack is just an absolute kill, and it kills absolutely everything that Dodeka has, then maybe MashedZerg's going to be in a good position, but he's really going to have to do a lot of damage with this attack. A couple banelings going off, taking out almost all of the Zerglings. They make their way up the ramp, bypassing the smaller drone count down at that lower line, getting off a massive drone hit there. Pretty much evening up the harvester count. It's 14 to 17, still a bit of a deficit favoring Dodeka. But MashedZerg has a lot of minerals saved up, and he's bringing out 12 more Zerglings. At the same time, Dodeka's producing 4 drones, so he's right back up to that pre-baneling hit mark, that 21 to 14. This is pretty much exactly where they were before. So Dodeka is definitely going to have an economy that is stronger and is better prepared to deal with the aggression coming out of MashedZerg. You can see there's 0 saturation on the natural, but a much larger drone count down here with a huge swell of drones coming out. The longer MashedZerg allows this gap to persist, the longer that gap is just going to get bigger and bigger. 2 drones coming in, getting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 drones down and 3 more in critical damage. So 17 and 23s, he's beginning to mainline those drones off, and fortunately we haven't seen Dodeka decide to switch up to a different tech. He's got an idle drone right there. But if Dodeka decided to play the aggressor here and he pushed in and saw that, you know, there's absolutely nothing that can be made by MashedZerg except for Zerglings, banelings, if Dodeka decides to go roaches or even tech higher than that, hit a layer here and just go all out on some sort of aggression, I think that Dodeka's in a good situation, a good position for that right now, with a 30 to 20 for the harvester count. See a lot of Zerglings come in with several banelings behind. They want to skirt around the edges of this spinecrawler, sending just a couple of Zerglings up there to draw the aggro from the spinecrawler so that the banelings can get an unharassed. Banelings, a couple of hits off on the probe line, doing quite a bit of damage, not enough to justify the attack, but with 3 more banelings surviving, making it up to this drone line, get very good hit off of that. And then finally, for the first time in the game, MashedZerg has the probe count lead. This attack's gonna get cleaned up, but the damage has definitely been done. That was something that that MashedZerg needed to happen just absolutely desperately. So it appears that MashedZerg wants to stay on the aggression, keep producing Zerglings, and hopefully is going to start getting a good saturation up here. But finally, Dodeka, realizing that he's suffered a lot of damage there, is pushing out with just a lot of Zerglings to do some damage down here at this expo. Banelings being morphed in on MashedZerg's creep, so he's going to be able to push back this swell of Zerglings from his main base. But for the first time in forever, it seems that Dodeka is doing the aggression. MashedZerg decided to transfer all of his drones down for whatever reason. That's not the wisest of choice. You can see even though he's got the harvester count lead, he's behind by a couple hundred minerals per second or minute. And that's significant, because in this game it really depends on how many drones you have mining, how many minerals, and that mineral count directly relates to how many Zerglings a person can field at one time. Right now, Dodeka's doing a great job keeping 1 or 2 Zerglings away from the pack to kite in on those banelings, take them down so that the massive baneling hits doesn't go down. Unfortunately, there was just enough banelings to push back Dodeka all the way back to his front door, and finally Dodeka gets pushed back to his creep, and MashedZerg's back being the aggressor. All of this attack is going to get cleaned up, but you can see 16 more Zerglings coming out of MashedZerg as a baneling does make it to the probe line, blows up quite a bit of those Zerglings. 25 to 22 for the harvester count, and the Zergling count's pretty much neck and neck. Still no tech coming out of either player, so really it just depends on who's got the aggression. Second, I say still no tech coming out of either player. We can see a Roach Warren is finished, and we have 9 roaches on the way. This is going to be a huge turning point for Dodeka. These banelings, if they make it in, they're not going to make it in before the roaches finish. Baneling's not the most cost-effective unit to throw against roaches, but they are incredibly cost-effective if they make it to the drone line, which is still pretty well saturated for Dodeka. Roaches coming in, bursting on the Zerglings. Unfortunately, he meets the roaches, which succeed in taking all but one down before he can make it. Only taking out a single drone, not what needed to happen there, but we can see that MashedZerg has a great saturation on both of his expansions, and he's going to take the economic lead now. So what he needs to do is sit back, macro, tech up so that he can get to roaches also. Maybe even go higher than that. Get some Hydras in on the mix, maybe take a third. So he's got a lot of choices that he can do. He's got the map control. Unfortunately, the roaches are going to be pushing out now and will succeed in pushing MashedZerg all the way back home. He's got 4 Banelings positioned out of the way from the roaches, which aren't going to see him, and they're going to have a front door access to get back into the base, but it looks like MashedZerg's going to pull them back, and unfortunately these Banelings are going to get picked off by those roaches. A lot of spine crawlers coming up. The back door is still open, so if MashedZerg, how MashedZerg snuck in last time with those Banelings is he came along the top side and then came down the south side to avoid those spine crawlers, and it looks like Dodeka is going to do the exact same thing. It's the same thing that MashedZerg did. It's very common with all the spine crawlers positioned here. These roaches will make it to the mineral line and do some damage there, but it looks like those drones, quick reactions out of MashedZerg, is to reposition his spine crawlers and pull back his drones. So these roaches are just going to do a little bit of damage, but more importantly, they're going to deny that mining. You can see that the mineral count is again swinging into Dodeka's favor, almost twice as much now, and these roaches are all completely out of range, and several of the roaches that belong to MashedZerg are getting pinned up on the queen. These roaches make it up the ramp. If they can swing down into that roach line, the drone line, do some damage to the harvesters, then that could be pretty devastating for MashedZerg. At the same time, we can see 13 roaches on the way for Dodeka and another 9 for MashedZerg. With this defender's advantage, all of these roaches are going to be able to do quite a lot of damage to these guys and hopefully hold their attention long enough for the several roaches down here to pop out at the main, get them stuck. It looks like Dodeka decides to come over here, take out some of the drones before his units are completely wiped up. Unfortunately, all he meets is roaches that belong to MashedZerg, and they all go down. MashedZerg needs to transfer back some of his drones to resupply this natural expand, because even though the harvester counts neck and neck, we can see that MashedZerg is behind Dodeka by about 200 minerals per minute. And that's because of the saturation. He's oversaturated at that main. Finally getting those guys transferred down. You can see he's also just mining off of a single gas geyser, whereas Dodeka has 2 up and a spire on the way. A spire is an excellent text choice. You can see that the only thing that MashedZerg has out right now is 2 queens, or a single queen right now. The second one is on the way, but he doesn't even have an Evo chamber out, which means that spore crawlers can't even be produced to deal with these mutas. 2 queens not going to be enough to deal with 11 mutas, which is how much gas Dodeka has saved up right now. Those mutas cost 100 minerals, 100 gas, and he's got 1100 of both saved up. So as second that spire finishes off, I expect we just to see a huge swell of mutas, which are just excellent at harassing. There he goes. There goes 11 mutas on the money. Once they make it in here to the probe line, then it's going to be MashedZerg's turn to feel some economic hurt, because MashedZerg's been so successful at dealing that damage, but unfortunately Dodeka is going to be in an excellent position to do some damage to him. Suicidal Overlord coming in to see that there is no air defenses in place, no lair is up, and no Evo chambers have been built here. Short time ago, Dodeka also had another Overlord in position to see exactly what was down in the natural. All 11 of these mutas are going to be swinging down into the main. He already knows that there's nothing built. MashedZerg is starting the Evo chamber, but that's a little too late. The Mutalisks focus down the first queen, the second queen, so now there is 0 air defense, and all of these drones are going to go down. We can see it's already down to 17 on the drone count. These mutas are just going to have a free reign. If he really wanted to be a jerk, he could focus down this Evo chamber and prevent anything from being built, but it looks like MashedZerg is producing 2 queens right now. He's got a lot of minerals saved up. If he had this Evo chamber up, he'd have time to build the spore crawlers. But as things are now, MashedZerg has to bow out just because he didn't have the time right. He just didn't have the time to make those spore crawlers. I'm going to rewind just for a second so we can watch this last-ditch attack done by MashedZerg. Times 4 it up, we can see all those roaches come out. This is basically what MashedZerg needed to have happen. He needed the Spire when it popped to not do the mutas come out, but for it to have cost Dodeka his roach army. You can see all those roaches sitting out there, but that standing roach army, if that didn't exist, then maybe these banelings could have made it into the main. Maybe they could have done some damage, but unfortunately, we can see the mutas are going to start coming out now, have taken out the queen, and at the same time, MashedZerg just decides to do a all-in. So at the same time, MashedZerg's suffering all that economic damage. This is the same time we have the 17 harvesters. All of these Zerglings come in and just meet an entire wall of roaches. And unfortunately, there's not enough roaches here. There's not enough banelings to burst down that wall. If MashedZerg had managed to do some economic damage himself, maybe he could have done something. But once he sees this army crumbles, that's why he GG's out. I think that was why he delayed GGing out once he lost this natural expansion. He's like, maybe I can do something up at the front door. Anyway, that's it for me, guys. I appreciate MashedZerg for posting this. I think it was under MashedZerg, and maybe that's Dodeka. It's confusing. I apologize. So I appreciate you guys watching this. I am Ibigandscary. If you have a game that you want me to cast, you could PM me. And if you have a comment, please leave me a comment. And otherwise, I'll see you guys later. Bye.